crap, I forgot to get ready.
Johnny's in America, no tricks at the wheel. No one needs anyone, they don't even just
See your face?
pretend.
You got red hair dye on your face. Other face. That face.
Johnny's in
This is the latest drummer. And though Jason Evans
I'm afraid of
live,
Americans.
on the album.
I'm afraid of the
Live,
world.
on the credit Jimmy there.
I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't.
I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. If you don't love David Bowie, there's something wrong with you. Alright, I was just adjusting my mic. Little children's like to come in here and play around with my stuff, so I needed to adjust my mic. We've got a great video for you today, jam-packed, full of information. Growing Up Frances Bean Part 2, here it is. You guys have been waiting long enough. I want to go ahead and just jump right into it. However, I'm warning you that the first bit of news that I'm bringing to you in this video may be very devastating. I hope you're sitting down. Know that I will create a Discord support group if you need me. I will be there for you, but as of 4 days ago, Courtney Love has announced to Vogue magazine that a whole reunion is absolutely not going to happen. Now, I know this is a shock. I know that a lot of you are probably completely torn apart by this news, especially after the fact that Courtney told us in 2020 that she was taking guitar lessons over Zoom during the lockdown. Imagine that. A person who was a rock star in the 90s is taking guitar lessons in 2019. I was really amped up. I was ready for a whole reunion. Apparently, it's not going to happen. Now, Courtney announced this guitar lessons, whole reunion, blah, 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 right after Kathleen Hanna, a Bikini Kill. Of course, Kathleen had no way to predict the world pandemic and how that would affect all of us. Courtney immediately puts Bikini Kill down, just like she did in the 90s, stating that she still thinks Bikini Kill sucks, and she announces, I've been taking guitar lessons and we're going to do a whole reunion, which we all knew was never going to happen. I was proud of Courtney for taking the initiative to actually learn guitar, but it seems as though she gave up on it. Why do I bring up Bikini Kill? Why do I bring up Kathleen Hanna? Well, we forgot to talk about a 1995 incident at Lollapalooza in which Courtney Love assaulted Kathleen Hanna of Bikini Kill. To add insult to injury, Courtney had also went on a French TV program and announced to the French people that the Riot Grrrl movement was a press invention, that it was something that was completely made up, it was fake, and it was just a few girls who were manipulating the press.
There is no movement. There isn't. It's a press myth. No. Honestly, there's like there's like the same kind of feminism there's always been. There's in LA, there's girls that get together that talk, have group meetings like there's been since the 60s and 50s and 70s and 80s. There's like 10 people that called themselves Riot Grrrls, and it's just the press. It's a total press invention.
Have you ever asked yourself, why does Courtney have so much disdain for Kathleen Hanna? Courtney claimed to be a feminist, someone who wanted to empower other women. She would tell girls, pick up a guitar, start a band. You'd think she would support Bikini Kill, but remember, Kathleen Hanna was a good friend of Kurt Cobain, and their drummer, Toby Vale, was Kurt Cobain's possibly first true love. There was a bit of jealousy. After all, Kathleen Hanna even inspired Nirvana's biggest hit, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Recently, I watched a YouTube video where Kathleen explained the story of how she inspired friend Kurt Cobain to write this song.
In August of 1990, I found myself laying on my stomach in the woods, a pair of binoculars, bottle of Canadian Club, and my friend Kurt Cobain. The reason why I had the binoculars was because I was the lookout while he ran across the street to a teen pregnancy center that had just opened in our town. And it really wasn't a teen pregnancy center, it was a right-wing con where they got teenage girls to go in there and then told them they were gonna go to hell if they had abortions. Since Kurt and I were angry young feminists in the 90s, we decided that we were gonna do a little public service that night. We drank our Canadian Club and he watched out while I went across the street and wrote fake abortion clinic, everyone. That was kind of like the pragmatic one or whatever. And he was more creative, so he went over and in 6-foot tall red letters he wrote, God is gay. It was kind of cool like that. So after that we polished off the Canadian Club and ended up at Kurt's apartment and I smashed up a bunch of shit. And I took out a Sharpie marker and I wrote a bunch of shit all over his bedroom wall, and it was a rental, so it was like really kind of lame that I did that. And then I passed out with the marker in my hand, and I woke up and I had one of those hangovers where you think that if you walk in the next room there could be a dead body in there. So I wasn't that happy when 6 months later Kurt called me up and said, hey, do you remember that night? And I was like, so then Kurt's like, well, there's this thing that you wrote on my wall, and it was actually kind of cool, and I want to use it as a lyric in one of my songs. And I was like, as long as I can get out of this conversation and not think about anymore, I'm totally cool. So you can use whatever you want. And then I hung up, and I was like, how the fuck is he gonna use Kurt Smells Like Teen Spirit as a lyric?
So it's easy to decipher that Courtney sees these girls as a threat, ever wanting to control Kurt Cobain and alienate all of his friends from his life.
Amidst the chaos of Nirvana's success, Kurt Cobain married Courtney Love, controversial lead singer of the band Hole, in February 1992. But Love was already beginning to alienate Cobain's closest friend.
People like Courtney Love latched on, and then we were kind of out of the picture. She didn't like me from the get-go, so it didn't surprise me, that I was pushed to the background.
Courtney will do whatever it takes. Even to this day, she still views them as a threat. What does Courtney do to a threat? Well, if she can, she'll use the media to obliterate them, intimidate them, assault them, whatever she has to do to get back at them and to take control. And that's what the rest of this video is about. Courtney Love using her power to commit crimes and get away with it. Picking up where we left off, and yes, we are going to get to the Isaiah Silva case today. Right now, I want to pick up where we left off in the early 2000s and continue with Courtney's shenanigans because I feel it is important to show everyone a pattern of behavior. In the same CNN article that we were reading in part 1, where it told us about Courtney being arrested at London's Heathrow Airport, it tells us this. On December 15, 2000, the singer filed a lawsuit against Barber's ex-wife, Lesley Barber. The suit, which was later settled, charged that Lesley Barber stalked her, threatened to burn her house down, and ran over Love's foot with her Volvo. What does Courtney do when she feels someone is a threat? The first thing she tries to do is obliterate them in the media, usually in the form of a lawsuit with bogus accusations. I tried and tried. I couldn't find any record of Courtney ever having any broken bones in her foot. Foot was ran over by a car, but she never went to the hospital for it. Furthermore, imagine the scenario. One person is driving away while the other person is close enough to the car to have their foot ran over. Who's chasing who in this scenario? Sounds to me like Lesley Barber was just trying to get away from Courtney Love. Who is Lesley Barber and why is she a threat to Courtney Love? Lesley Barber is the ex-wife of Courtney's boyfriend in the early 2000s, James Barber. Here we see a picture of Frances with yet another father figure that won't last, another thing Frances had to endure growing up. Who's my dad? Which one of these guys is going to stick around? Well, none of them's going to stick around because my mom is crazy. James Barber is a music manager, music publisher, A&R executive producer, radio promotion, tour manager, all that good stuff. A jack of all trades, if you will. To me, they're one and the same. They're just a bunch of parasites with slick titles so they can get their hands on the artist cash, but whatever. James and Lesley have children. Naturally, Lesley still needs to talk to James. Courtney, viewing her new flame's ex-wife and mother to his children as a threat to her control over James, uses her power of persuasion with the media to make it look as though Lesley Barber is the crazy one. But as is the case with Courtney Love so many times, time reveals the truth. In October 2003, police responded to a potential burglary call at about 2:40 a.m. outside James Barber's home, where Love had allegedly broken some windows. Barber did not press charges, but Love admitted to police that she had taken hillbilly heroin, the slang term for the narcotic painkiller Oxycontin. Courtney must know some people over at CNN because they say allegedly broken windows. Well, we know that Courtney broke this guy's windows and did much more because Frances Bean tells us so. This is a Frances Bean quote about the night Courtney threw rocks through James Barber's window. She took me in a taxi to his house in the middle of the night. And please, keep in mind that Frances Bean at this time is only 11 years old. And from outside the house in her bare feet, she screamed at him, threw rocks at the house, and threatened to burn his house down. His children were inside the house, but that did not stop my mother. Frances was 11 years old at the time her mother drug her out in the middle of the night and threatened to burn down a man's house who had broken up with her. This reminds me of a story from Kurt Cobain's childhood in which Wendy O'Connor drug Kim Cobain, Kurt's little sister, out down to a river and threw her husband's gun collection in the river after he had came home the previous night smelling of a woman's perfume. Matter of fact, Frances goes on to tell us she basically exists now on Xanax, Adderall, Sonata, and Abilify, sugar, and cigarettes. She rarely eats. She often falls asleep in her bed while she is smoking, and I am constantly worried that she will start a fire, which she has done at least 3 times. That will threaten our lives. She adds that Love once tried to jump off a balcony in her presence. Could you imagine growing up with such a hostile mother and such a hostile environment? This is why I say I think it's truly amazing that Frances ended up being such a level-headed, calm person. It's as if she was taking this all in while she was growing up and just thinking, ooh, I don't want to be like that. The truth always has a way of coming out in the end, and in the end we find out that everything Courtney was accusing Lesley Barber of doing, in fact, she was doing. Projection, remember that word? Come April 2004, Courtney is still bothering James Barber, who has long since broken up with her. Now keep in mind that 4 years earlier, in 2000, Courtney Love filed a lawsuit against James Barber's baby mama, saying that she was stalking Courtney. James Barber has long since broken up with Courtney, and in April of 2004, Courtney breaks into his house again. She finds musician Kristin King sleeping in the living room on James Barber's couch and proceeds to assault this poor woman who has come out of a dead sleep. As reported by the Los Angeles Times, Kristin King testified that she had been sleeping on Barber's couch when she heard Love yelling at Barber and then watched her storm through the house. She picked up a bottle of whiskey and dumped it all over me. She threw the bottle at the left side of my face. She picked up a big candle that was lit and threw it at the back of my head. I imagine at this point in time, Kristin King is running from Courtney Love, and that's why Courtney's throwing this candle at the back of her head. The musician added that Love then sat on her, pulled her hair, dug her nails into her arm, and grabbed her left breast in the quote-unquote worst pinch I've ever had. Fucking Courtney, childish ass Courtney, gave this woman a purple nurple. Are you fucking kidding me? A titty twister. Are you kidding me? Courtney Love is the biggest child on the face of the planet. And I imagine that probably hurt pretty damn bad. James Barber, who is being stalked, harassed, threatened by Courtney, literally saying she's going to burn his house down with his children in it, can't move on with his life, can't even have a woman to his house, even though he's broken up with Courtney. For whatever reason, he decides to not press charges on either occasion. Now, here's what I don't understand. How did Courtney get away with sexual assault? If a man grabbed another man's genitals or grabbed a woman's breast in such a way, wouldn't he be charged with sexual assault? Why should it be any different just because Courtney's a female? Apparently, big cities like Seattle and LA just allow the rich and famous to do whatever they want. It's as if in America we have two legal systems. We have one for the poor and one for the rich. If you're poor, you get railroaded, you get trumped up charges, you do extremely long prison sentences. Did you know that America's prison sentences are 10 to 12 times longer than any other civilized country in the world? There are downsides and upsides to capitalism, and in America, we think of ways to turn anything into a business, including human misery and suffering. And I've thought about making a video explaining how companies make money off of keeping inmates in prison longer, but that's a whole other story. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. If you're rich and famous, well, you settle everything in civil court over monetary gains or monetary losses. Does this seem fair to you guys? It really doesn't to me. Jane Doe, poor girl, would have done 3 to 5 years for that break-in and titty twister. Matter of fact, the Los Angeles Times didn't even report the charge correctly. A break-in, otherwise known as a B&E, breaking and entering, is when you break into an unoccupied structure, meaning no one lives there. You've broken into a business or an abandoned building or a factory that's closed down. When you break into a house that is occupied with sleeping occupants, that's called home invasion. That's a very, very serious charge. What she actually did is a home invasion with a felonious sexual assault. It's amazing to me that she not only gets away with it, but the media will even soften the charges to make it look like less of a situation than it was. If it was Jane Doe, poor girl in Appalachia, she'd be doing 3 to 5 in a state penitentiary for home invasion and sexual assault. America has many great opportunities. I won't deny that. Look at where I am. Look at the audience I have. Someone like me could have never done this in, say, a country like China, who has such restrictions on internet access and social media. But there are certain aspects of America that I cannot stand. For example, the fact that poor people get trumped up charges and rich people get softened, reduced charges. Now remember, Frances is being drug along through all of this. She's witnessing this. She's having to go through this. This is her mother, her mentor. And this event is actually what causes Courtney Love to lose custody of Frances Bean yet again, this time for 2 years, from 2003 all the way through 2005. This is when Frances Bean becomes very close to Kurt Cobain's mother, Wendy, and to this day, Frances says that she looks at Wendy as more of a mother figure than her real mother. Now, it's no secret that Wendy O'Connor was not the best mother in the world to Kurt Cobain, but people change. People can change. They do change. It happens every day. And a lot of times, some people make better grandparents than they did parents. I think this is what happened with Wendy. I think Wendy learned from her mistakes and she became a better grandmother than she was a mother.